So there's one area in darcs where our usability is very, very bad, especially compared to other revision control systems. And unfortunately, to address these issues is going to take us a considerable amount of work, and it's things that will probably have to sort of happen over the long term. But we care very deeply about getting this right, and we will work on this when we get to it. So there's three things that we need to address in the way that darcs sort of presents conflicts to you, the user. The first of these is the most important one is the notion of conflict marking. So right now, and this is really embarrassing to say, right now, whenever darcs encounters a conflict, and it just sort of marks up your files that saying, well, okay, here's one part of the conflict, and here's the other part of the conflict, right? It doesn't tell you where the conflict comes from. It just says, oh, okay, here's one part of the conflict foo, and here's this other part bar, and that's it. And so as a user, that can be actually very confusing, and you have to sort of go through the changes and see, okay, which part is foo, which part's bar, and it's really, really painful, and it's not acceptable. And we are looking into this, and we're trying to find a way to fix this. What we'd like to do, of course, is to not just tell you, okay, here it is, the size of the conflict foo and bar, but also tell you where these parts of the conflict come from. You're saying, well, okay, foo comes from this patch, with nice little hash that you can refer to later, and bar comes from this other patch. And this will allow you to more easily figure out what to do to address these. Aside from just marking the files themselves, what we need to be able to do is to actually give you a nice listing in the patch history of which patches conflict with which other patches. Right now, if you use commands like darcs changes, you can tell that patches have conflicts in them. You can say, oh, this is a patch with a conflict in it. But what it doesn't tell you is this patch conflicts with this other patch, right? It just says there's a conflict. And what would be ideal is actually something that is a little bit more friendly, a little bit more informative, that says, well, okay, I've got this patch here, and it conflicts with these other two patches. Furthermore, if you do resolve a conflict, what your darcs changes up, which ideally say is, here's this patch, and it's a resolution for the conflict between these two other patches, right? And this would make it a lot easier to find out what's going on. Finally, the third thing we need to work on in darcs is to sort of provide you sort of better notification so that you can always trust darcs to not let you to not let you assume that you don't have any conflicts, right? So one of the things you could do, for example, is if you have a conflict in your repository and you haven't done anything to resolve this conflict, right? It could maybe sort of refuse to let you push patches until you've done something about the conflict. Now, maybe sometimes you actually do want this to happen, right? But what we really need to do is to sort of introduce a sort of forcing function to make sure that you don't accidentally that you don't actually do this without actually really meaning to, right? So make it so that you have to do something really hard so that and make it do something annoying like type of phrase to force darcs to do this. But basically, the important thing is that if you can trust darcs to notify you whenever you have a conflict, then whenever darcs doesn't say anything, then you can very confidently say, oh, no conflicts, I'm happy. So that's the three things that we need to work on in as far as conflicts go over the long term. Improving the marking, making it easier to identify which patches conflict with which other patches, and which patches resolve which conflicts with other patches, and also just to improve the sort of notification that we have. And this would be a huge win in terms of darcs usability. So that's sort of the first part of this talk, where I basically described what kind of work we've been doing in these past couple of years, and also the kinds of things that we would like to do in the future. Now, what I want to do is to move on to sort of a shorter part of the talk, where I start to present the kinds of things that you, the darcs user, the darcs community, the Haskell community, or not just the Haskell community, but anybody who cares about darcs can help us to make life better. There's just two things that we can help with. Now, when I originally presented this material, I presented it in the context of a workshop called Anglo-Haskell, So this talk is a little bit directed at Haskell users, but hopefully, even if you're not a Haskell user, you can help us to think about these things, particularly about testing, for example, or writing proofs. The thing is, so darcs is written in this language Haskell, and we really love Haskell. It's a great language. It makes life better in a lot of ways, and allows us to feel very confident about the kind of code we're writing, right? And this is the kind of thing that the Haskell community likes to say. So, for example, in the Haskell wiki, we have a quote like Haskell allows rapid development of robust, concise, correct software. That's great. I mean, that's really great, and it's true. And it's I really buy into this. I have drunk the Kool-Aid, but the truth is, we do have this darcs bug tracker out there, and it does have 444, actually 448 now, open issues that we need to resolve. So, Haskell, just using Haskell doesn't magically make your programs bug-free, right? It certainly helps us to avoid a lot of issues, but hey, we still have our problems. So darcs is currently in this position of as being one of the sort of poster children for Haskell, right? And people think of, okay, what's a big real world Haskell program? They think of darcs, and then they think of also all the sorts of problems that we've been having, right? And that's sort of not a really great situation, right? What we really need to do is to think about the Haskell community and also the darcs community, and to think really hard about what we can do to make darcs really deserve to be this kind of poster child, right? What can we do to make darcs sort of like the kind of example that the entire Haskell community likes to point to and say, look, this is such beautiful, great, robust, it's so amazingly solid. This is Haskell software. This is typical Haskell software, right? This is the kind of message that we'd like people to be able to send about darcs, and which isn't possible now, right? So I don't really have any answers. I mean, in terms of how we can make darcs closer to this ideal poster child. I mean, I can think of 4 areas that I think we need help with. So I was talking about how we're interested in doing proofs for the new version of patch theory. This is maybe something, if you know about these sort of somewhat formal methods, you could actually probably help us out with, help us write these proofs, help us critique these proofs, help us to figure out what the right things to prove are, right? You could also help us with code review. We really, so one of the principles of darcs development is that no patch gets applied without being reviewed. Well, okay, we have a small whitelist for obviously trivial exceptions, but for the most part, what we're trying to do in darcs is to review all of our code so that not just to check for correctness. I mean, that's a nice little feature, but also to make sure that the entire darcs team knows what's going on, right? No, it's not everybody reviews every patch, but everybody tries to review some patches so that a lot of the knowledge is sort of diffused in the team. But we need help. We need as many reviewers as we can get, right? Testing in libraries, we need, as a team, we aren't really used to sort of a very test-driven approach to development. We do have a fairly robust set of regression tests, but what we do need some more help with is thinking about how to do a bit more unit testing, how to use technologies like quick check in Haskell, for example. And finally, libraries. I mean, one of the things is that darcs is a very old project and has a lot of homegrown solutions to problems, which are probably now solved by independent libraries in the Haskell community. So this is something that you could sort of help us to maybe help us to kick some of the code out of darcs. More generally, it's a question of community, right? So darcs is a small volunteer-run project. I mean, there's maybe 10 of us, and we all have day jobs. We all, none of us are darcs developers first and foremost. I work at a university. Some darcs developers are students. Other developers work in industry. So we have this thing called the day job problem, where basically there's so much we want to do and so little time, right? So we really need the community to step up by contributing things like code review, helping us with release management, helping us to sort of watch the patch tracker and the issue tracker, right? And also to improve our documentation. Now, I would like to talk a little bit more about the community and wrap up this talk in the next segment. So I hope to see you there, and thanks for watching so far.